this morning? Did you
Yes.
hear about the honey bun incident at the Salina County Jail?
No, I did not.
Oh my gosh. Of course, SalinaPost.com is affiliated with Eagle Radio here.
Yes.
And Saturday there was an inmate that stole a honey bun from somebody and got beat up by 7 guys.
Ah.
And they beat him up with a sock filled with dominoes. And I mean, it's kind of sad because, you know, he really did get hurt. I guess he had to go for treatment, and there was some talk he might have had a broken rib or something. So by golly, as a citizen of this community, I did my part to help decrease crime. I took a whole box, 4 boxes of honey buns to the Salina County Jail.
That is very kind. I'm wondering about, I thought you were going to tell me you were going to help promote dominoes as a contact sport.
Yeah, there you go, there you go. That would even be funnier too. It was funny, we did a little clip in front of there and we videoed it. We're going to put it on JoanJerkovich.com, and we actually got the captain to come out and talk to us, and thankfully he had a smile on his face and didn't pull his weapon or anything like that,
Yeah,
and chase us out the door.
Yeah,
So
those honey buns may come in extra handy
Yeah.
if you were there for an extended stay.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. And I had a guy that was outside the door, was begging for a box, and so, you know, we had to bring him back here to the station. But anyway, that was just a lot of fun, and you'll have to go look for that because we're going to be putting that up on the videos. So
Perfect.
well, we're going to get started here. So let me get a drink and let's go.
Anytime you're ready.
Well, this is Joan, and we're back with the Joan Jerkovich Show. I'm here with another guest in our series I'm calling Local Flavor here on 910 KINA. Our guest is Brad Anderson, the relatively new Executive Director with the Salina Arts and Humanities Department. Hey, Brad.
Hi, Joan.
Hey, good to have you here.
Great to be here.
So this isn't going to be a surprise to you because I told you a little bit in our little pre-office interview we have that we're going to get right to it. We're going to talk about the controversy at the River Festival, performance of the Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, the grandfather of funk, George Clinton. So what all happened there in your office with that?
Well, there was some fairly quick feedback, both positive and negative. What we've found so far at this point, there are no people on the fence about George.
Okay, they're one way or
they
the other.
love him
Either
or
love
they
him or
were
hate him.
very unhappy with his performance. And within the office, we are fully aware that the festival is a family-friendly event, that
Right.
that we've had some quasi-controversial acts in the past. 2 years ago, the Kinsey Six were there, the group of men who cross-dressed and did
I love
a
those
comedy
guys.
and music combination, and they actually stirred up more controversy than George did.
They did,
Yes,
really?
they did.
Is that
There's-
because they had their own personal security force with them? The Kinsey Six had security, didn't they? Because I always saw them with bodyguards.
Well, they should have had security because they were kind of hot.
They were
no,
hot, yeah. They had all kinds of people hitting on them, and they loved it, men
Yeah.
and women.
Yeah, that's it. No one was safe with the Kinsey Six.
I know.
Now, you know, with George, it had been clearly indicated in the conversations with the producers and others that this was a family
Oh, really? It
event
had.
and so on. And for me, and I'm not dodging anything, but
No.
personally, I had looked at some of their videos. I knew the music, and hadn't seen some of what Salinans and some with young family members there saw
Right.
acted out on stage, and it was probably less than appropriate for some young audiences,
Right.
and so we've had some conversations about it as an office. We're still doing festival evaluation. We actually began evaluating the River Festival about 6 weeks before this year's festival, just saying, gosh, here's what we've done so far, but we know we can do it better next year if we do this and change.
Right.
So
Exciting.
it's always in a constant revision, and so I.
So how nasty did George Clinton get? I can tell you what my friends came back and told me.
I'm not sure. I'll try to do this as carefully as I can.
Okay.
His granddaughter at one point mimicked an intimate sexual act with another
Okay.
band member.
Of course,
And-
I'm just thinking granddaughter, little girl, but we're talking like
Grown
20s.
woman.
grown
Yeah.
women.
She's
Okay.
a full-figured woman. I mean, she's
Full-figured.
And
Kind of
so
like a lot of bumping and grinding.
there was
like
and there was
dirty
that.
dancing.
Yeah,
There was that.
and you know it for every actually there's been more strong, positive, supportive comments that
Right.
have come
I've
through
heard
the
that
office
too.
than the negative.
Mhm,
But we want to be sensitive to both. There were
right.
4,000
Right.
people in the Bicentennial Center, many of whom it was their first time with any event related to not just the River Festival, but maybe coming over to Salina from Manhattan or Junction City or Lawrence or
Right,
we had people from many states and towns from our preliminary survey that came mostly for George. And so
Is that right?
yeah, and,
Well, he is a huge name. I mean, the people that were sitting out at the festival, we stayed at the outside concert, and they were all like, "You've got to go to the Bicenter. You don't realize." I mean, our younger kids were texting some of us saying, "You've got to go see. Are you kidding, George Clinton? And you're not going to go, or you're going to stay out here?" And
yeah,
you're right. He's a huge draw.
He was a big draw,
Big draw.
and it was you know we've some of the positive support that we've gotten has been finally you got some music that I can identify with, or you know
Really?
there's people who maybe aren't interested in country or
Yes.
blues or the typical genres or the you know the cover bands and some of the other things or the local entertainment. And they say. Let's have something big to celebrate. This was our 35th year, and that was part of the reason that the decision was made to do it. But
Now, why would that have to do with bringing George Clinton in the 35th year?
you know, it's just
Was
as
he
a
a more
milestone.
expensive act, or he was a bigger name act? As far as
All of the
festival?
above, you know,
Okay.
having a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame guy and 22 of his closest friends on stage at the same time.
Jeez.
It was a large group. It wasn't
Right.
an inexpensive group. There's a lot of extra technical things that have to go into place, and hotels, transportation, accommodations that are typical with any performer. I mean, we put many of our out-of-town performers up in hotels, or we help
Right.
provide
But that's
lodging
quite an
and shuttle
entourage.
service. That's a big group,
That is.
and so
So
it's not something.
what fell apart with the fact that you clearly communicated this is to be a family show? Did you get a reply from them, or I'm sure you talked to them?
No,
You didn't?
no. That
Come on, you got to talk to them.
at the point that you know, and what's interesting, and you know, we talk about some of the controversy and fallout. It was the first two songs that the most explicit kinds of behavior took place. They played for another hour and a half.
Right.
With very little demonstration the same way.
Right.
I'm not, and I've also heard from others who have followed them and have seen them play in other places. This was restraint. This was tame. This was held back.
This was tame for them to even have this mimicking of intimate experiences on stage.
Oh, it was
tame.
that was. I have learned since
That's not what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, that is lowering the bar slightly for what they're used to.
So they tried to. They tried. They made
Actually,
an effort.
you know, it's all speculation at this point. I'm not so sure that they didn't appreciate Salina telling them it's a family-friendly event and just wanted to show that they're going to do what they do. And then they just went into playing great music. And so for the musicians in the group that really loved excellent drumming and strumming and playing, they were very happy with what they saw and heard. And I think that had they reversed the order and maybe put some of the more
risque acts
content
toward the end after
towards
some of the
the
kids
last
left.
two songs, or for you know that they didn't finish till 11:15 that night. They started at 8:30, and so there were people coming and going throughout, but. It gave us an idea of trying something new. It was one of the most successful events we've had as part of the River Festival at the Bicentennial Center with another act at the same time.
So how many seats did you fill? Do you have an idea?
Just a little over 4,000.
Wow, they had to be here for George Clinton.
There was you know, there were some curiosity, a lot of folks who were curious, some who didn't know. A couple have said, you know, I took my kids over. We just wanted to see what else the festival had to offer. They were curiosity seekers. They said we should have maybe looked a little bit more into George Clinton, or we might not have participated. There were others who said, gosh, I had no idea. I went over to see him, but I didn't know he was the guy who did that, you know,
Yeah,
and sang
he's
these
big.
songs, or has
Right.
this record. So it all in all,
Right.
I made a couple of public comments that
Sure.
if we, and I've mentioned it to staff, and again, we're still evaluating, but my barometer is probably going to say, if we have to have a family content warning or the potential of a family content warning for a concert,
Right.
we'll probably find another time besides River Festival to promote that.
Right, and
Yeah.
promote it separately,
It,
because of course they didn't pay extra to get into this performance. It came
Correct,
with
it
their
was a
buttons,
button,
so
a button
take
price.
the kids, take everybody.
You know, in the future, if we wanted to reach the young audiences or
Right.
encourage young adults or
Right.
you know, funk lovers to do this,
Funky lovers. Funkadelic. You're talking my type of music.
we might do it as a pre-festival concert at the Stiefel or something. You know, I mean, there might be another venue or another way of saying, let's give a different audience what they like. And I was encouraged by the number of people who I saw walking the festival and sitting. I spent no more than about 15 minutes in the Bicentennial Center that night, just because of the multiple hats I wear.
Oh, for sure.
But as I looked through the crowd, and I had this confirmed by a couple of the other tech people who've run a lot of shows and stage shows, they said this was a new audience. This was a different group than the typical Saturday Night River Festival group who came. And
Okay.
that's encouraging.
Well, let me have you comment on, you know, there was a lot of commentary on the internet about some of this. So there was a man that commented, and he's a family man, because he talked about he enjoyed George Clinton with the kids. But here's what he wrote. I also enjoyed watching this closed little hole of a town get their panties in a wad over a band like George Clinton.
Yeah.
So let's give us your response to that.
Well, that's a little bit typical. I mean, when I made a comment about that we probably are going to be a little more careful about family content warnings or not,
Right.
you know, having to use those.
But he was a family man. He
Yes,
was all
well,
for it.
and I
You
had
know.
some other people comment negatively to my being more careful, you know, or
Yes,
saying, you know,
absolutely.
hey, you know, you finally stepped out and took a chance, you know,
Exactly.
do it again. And the use of multiple stages on a Saturday night or
Right.
of pushing the limits that way, there's a lot of other ways we can push the limits.
Sure.
We can push the limits with some amazing gospel music.
Right.
We can push
True.
the limits with some amazing instrumentals or jazz or blues. There's more than one genre. And so I think that the festival does a good job each year of challenging Salinans in new ways if they're up for the challenge.
Well, and here's what I say about this guy that's talking about this little hole of a town who gets their panties in a wad. He's definitely not from Salina, because not everybody in Salina wears panties. I think he has to be from something like Lawrence, because I think there's more women and men in Lawrence who wear panties. So we're just going to diss him right off the bat and say, you aren't even from our town, so you don't have a right to speak. And I just wanted to tell you that we're just here talking with Brad Anderson, and he's the new executive director of Salina Arts and Humanities. And before we break here, I want you to stay tuned, because when I asked Brad to come on my show, he made a comment of something he'd like to talk about. He wants to come back and talk about how the arts in Salina are as important as the police department. Stay tuned. Lawrence people will love me for that comment.
Yeah. You know,
It's funny what you can find on the internet that people comment.
Well, and some of I was more encouraged. I thought it could be a firestorm when I heard what